and I recognize myself for 5 minutes of questions. In May, the Georgian government, led by the Georgian Dream political party, passed a so-called foreign agents law. Georgian Dream claims that this law is harmless and is similar to the Foreign Agents Registration Act, or FARA, here in the United States. Mr. Huck, what is your response to this? How are the Jordan Foreign Agents Law and FARA different?
Thank you very much for the question. And I appreciate it because we've heard this allegation or this statement from Georgia Dream in the past, and it is patently not true. The two laws are very different, and I can lay out a few specifics. But in addition, for a full rundown on this, I would direct you to the Venice Commission has written a detailed report analyzing this. I'd be happy to share as well. But in a nutshell, four quick items. First, FARA legislation does not differentiate between a profit entity or a not-for-profit entity. It's all treated the same. The Georgian law targets only civil society and media organizations. That's a first problem. Second, the U.S. FARA law exempts media organizations so long as 80% or more of the ownership is U.S., right? It's American. In Georgia, they don't make that distinction. In fact, media is specifically targeted, which has a serious impact on independent media there. In addition, the FARA law is based on your actions. Are you, in fact, acting at the direct control of a foreign entity? The Georgian law does not make that distinction. Again, it only looks at where your foreign funding comes from. So if you're an NGO working on early childhood education or something of that nature, and you receive a grant from Finland or pick any other country, you are irrefutably, irrebuttably labeled an agent of foreign influence of Finland, regardless of what the actions of your given civil society organization is. None of this stands to reason. It's for all of this is why both we and our European partners have analyzed the bill closely and assessed it does not align with transatlantic norms. Thank you.
So you're basically saying, and you agree, that their law is very similar to the Russia law and would actually much closer to what President Putin is pushing within Russia and in his allies, states.
I would agree with it as a Russian-inspired law, we often say, and it is quite worrisome that while Georgia's longtime partners and allies, like the United States and Europe, have warned and urged Georgia not to move forward with this legislation, Russia, the country that occupies 20% of Georgia, has praised the law. And we've made the case to the Georgian Dream and to the people of Georgia that when your friends are urging you to not do it and your occupier is urging you to do it, it really ought to make you think.
Thank you, Mr. Huck. Mr. Sokolovsky, the clear pretext of Georgia's foreign agents law is to impose control over the organizations that have worked for years to bring Georgia closer to the Euro-Atlantic community. Many of these organizations are implementing partners of the State Department and USAID. Once the foreign agents law comes into effect in September, what impacts will it have on state and USAID's implementing partners in Georgia, and what guidance are you providing to them about this new operating environment? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question, Chairman Kean. On one level, we are facing a situation that has some degree of uncertainty. We are waiting for implementing guidelines to come out with regard to the legislation, and we anticipate those coming out in August. At the same time, we are not sitting and waiting. Our mission in Tbilisi has been working with our partners on what we're calling a lean-in strategy with civil society as we help them to weather this transition in the environment and to offer them sets of services that to this point, they have not needed. And these are the kind of services that they may need in a more challenging and less conducive environment for their work. And in there, we're talking about legal assistance, assistance to help them understand how they can comply with the law, security for their staff, and so forth. So there's a number of different things that we're working on. We've set a goal to make sure that we are focusing and orienting our assistance to help NGOs as they enter this difficult period.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, Moldova has been slipping out of Russia's orbit for several years, and based on consistent public polling, seems like it will continue to do so. Is the State Department concerned about more overt and direct Russian interference and intervention in Moldova as we get closer to the October presidential election and EU referendum?
We see very clear, first of all, thank you so much for the question, Mr. Chairman. We see very clear action by the Russians to undermine this upcoming election and the referendum. They are engaging networks of interference financed by the Russian state and also by oligarchs and criminal organizations designed to deprive the Moldovan people of their right to choose, their right to make a decision about their country's future. And we are working through sanctions to target those organizations and disrupt their operations, but also to support reforms necessary to ensure this election is protected from that type of influence.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. And now recognize Ranking Member Keating for any questions that he may have.